We're going to talk about RNDC getting sued by Sazerac. Sean will be here in a second. Cut it.
All right, so real quick, we know this video, the focus got messed up a little bit. Sometimes just happened. It got pushed back behind us, so we're going to be a little fuzzy. We understand that. But me and Dan felt that the conversation that we had was too good to just kind of throw away or reshoot. We really liked how everything just kind of progressed naturally, and to go back and redo it would just not be good for us. It'd be very forced. So we're just going to have to kind of treat this more as a podcast episode, and you guys can listen to us. It's going to be fuzzy. I've edited it like it's not fuzzy. I hope you guys still enjoy this topic. Thank you.
First off, thanks for being here. If you don't mind hitting like, comment, subscribe buttons.
Ooh, that'd be nice.
We love you guys.
We do appreciate it.
That being said, we haven't done one of these in a while where we just talk about recent is the correct word.
Yeah.
Whiskey, bourbon, aka, Kentucky. This is Kentucky news.
I mean, I guess.
Buffalo Trace is in Kentucky.
I would call it like national news.
Yeah, this is, yep. Is RNDC now?
I don't know who RNDC services, but as for like a national brand, Sazerac's everywhere.
And RNDC is everywhere.
Yeah, well, RNDC is getting real sued.
So, if you didn't know, recently, Buffalo Trace switched distributors. Okay, this is a quick cut. This is a TLDR on the distribution system.
Too long, didn't read.
There's distillers. It's a 3-tier system in America. This is how we distribute alcohol across the country. There's the people who make the alcohol.
Number 1.
Buffalo Trace. There's the people who wholesale and distribute the alcohol.
Number 2.
RNDC. There's retailers, your local liquor store.
Who you visit. Number 3.
Sean Opperman. Okay, so anyways, now that we put those into relative terms for you.
Yes.
In this system, a distillery obviously relies on a wholesaler / distributor.
Yes, distributors were put into place back in the day to actually help the consumer to get goods without being price gouged.
Yep.
So Michigan being an example, we have to have the 3-tier system.
The whole country
RNDC is, well, I mean, there's some
the whole country does.
There's some loopholes.
There are no loopholes.
Anyways, they are there to help the consumer to not get taken advantage.
I'm going to be
from
honest.
the distiller.
Are they though?
That's how it eventually. That's how it initially started. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They initially started that way. Now it is everyone gets paid. It is an extra step for more taxes to get hit.
It's capitalism.
More people get paid.
Yeah. So Buffalo Trace has been with RNDC or Sazerac, I should say, has been with RNDC for quite a while. Sazerac has recently publicized and announced that they're leaving RNDC. They're no longer relying on RNDC for distribution. RNDC is one of the biggest distributors in the country, I believe.
Probably the biggest.
And you're gonna have to give me an error of about 1 to 2 billion on this. RNDC's worth is roughly $13 billion as a company. So RNDC, needless to say, is humongous. If you're wondering,
I had literally no clue.
Look that up.
Dan said he had looked up a couple things. He was going to tell me in the video.
That was one of them.
That blows my mind.
That's bigger than Jack and Buffalo Trace. RNDC is humongous. That's all we have to say.
Wow.
You get the gist.
And they don't do shit other than...
Well, they distribute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're not distilling.
Oh, no.
They're not doing the hard
middleman.
part.
Yeah, they're the middleman. You could say the same thing about distillery. Automated.
Same thing as you're just handing it to the other guy and said, I don't care where it goes.
Sure.
I'll make my money from you.
Yeah.
You'll make your money from the store.
Somebody
and the store
else.
will make their money from us.
So, RNDC worked with Sazerac for a long time. They broke up, not mutually. And Sazerac is now, the breaking news is actually that Sazerac is suing RNDC for roughly $48 million.
Does that not seem like a drop in the bucket, though?
Now, here's the crazy part.
When you told me there were billions, 48 million seems like a drop in the bucket.
But
that's kind of a...
Right. But here's the thing. It becomes a little interesting because the reason they're suing...
But that means they'd lose all that business, too.
They already did that. That's gone. No. They've already lost that. This is...
Oh, they switched a while ago. I knew that they had switched, but I didn't know the lawsuit. I think the lawsuit is actually more of a let's put things into light of why we're switching.
Yeah.
I don't think the monetary value of the lawsuit means almost anything.
Matters very little in the grand scheme of things.
It's more of a, hey, let's talk about what's going on and why this is happening.
Let us explain to you, while we make roughly $100 million, why we switched. RNDC supposedly, this is all, let's just preface allegedly on everything I'm about to say, right? Does that make sense?
If you put everything in air quotes, it's fine. Like, you just talk like this the whole time.
RNDC allegedly owes Sazerac roughly $48 million for unpaid invoices.
Yeah.
The fact that we made it, let's just say a year.
Like 1 million?
50 million in unpaid invoices because Sazerac. So for those who don't know at home, what happens when a distiller sells, they sell to the distributor. So Buffalo Trace or Sazerac was selling directly to Sazerac or to RNDC. RNDC pays them on pickup in theory. They usually have 30 to 90 days.
Yep.
So what happens here is Buffalo Trace produces whiskey. Buffalo Trace sells the whiskey to RNDC. RNDC then pays Buffalo Trace. RNDC then sells the product to a retailer. So the fact that RNDC realistically already sold all of this, allegedly, to a retailer and never paid Buffalo Trace, $50 million, that's wild.
Like I said, that's a lot of pappy that fell off the back of a truck.
Now, this also, on top of this, if RNDC doesn't pay by February 1st this year, they owe them another $40 million.
Let me check the date. Oh my God.
They got 2 weeks. So the craziest part.
Hey, you know what? Everyone's Christmas bonus. You want to throw that back in. So we're getting sued.
It could be almost 100, roughly, give or take a few million. It could be $100 million payment to Sazerac from RNDC if they don't pay by the 1st.
Alrighty.
And before we get back in today's video, we're going to tell you about End of the AM, which is literally the shirt I'm wearing, but you don't even know it. And you want to know why you don't know it? Because this is an unbranded basics tee.
Ooh.
And fits like a glove. It makes me look shredded. I'm not. I know you don't think I am, but I know you think I am because I look like it.
No.
But literally unbranded black t-shirt. One of my favorite things from Into the AM. I actually am honestly a big fan of a lot of products from
I love the basics a lot.
These are fantastic.
Even the branded ones. I still feel like they're the contemporary enough that you can use them in a lot of situations.
Yeah.
They look professional. But if you just need a nice undershirt, the unbranded is the way to go.
They last forever.
Rocking the graphic.
Cheap.
They've got bundles for their graphics, their basics, their hoodies, their joggers, underwear, everything you need. This is a new year. Try to get a new wardrobe working for you. Head on over to IntoTheAM.com/Bourbonjunkies. Link in the description below.
We actually love them.
Oh, we do.
And people that
know us and meet us are like, oh, you're wearing Into the AM again.
And people who have bought Into the AM have been like, we love them too. Honestly, like the idea of bundling like 3 to 4, you bundle 3 shirts for like $45. That and the shirts don't shrink the first time you wash them.
Last forever.
And you can literally, I have shirts that are over a year old from Into the AM that are still in great shape.
Yeah.
The fact that like that you can get that level of quality shirt for that price is wild.
And we might or might not have another collab coming out next month. Who knows? Stay tuned for more. But thank you as always.
Spoiler alert.
For Into the AM.
We do.
Still working with us. We love you guys. We know you'll love them too. Let's get back to that video.
The jacket's not in them, but this shirt is.
Yeah. Thanks for wearing that.
What's under it isn't either.
So it makes so much more sense looking back at it from the storefront. We have limited storefront knowledge of people talking about like RNDC coming in and saying, do you want this release?
Yeah.
A couple cases of this go on there. But the problem is like, you don't know, okay, say we're both crooked as fuck.
Sure.
I'm doing the same thing. I'm taking a BTAC vertical off my distribution.
Okay.
And then I'm bullying stores, like different stores, being like, all right, you've got to offset my cost that they basically stole. You got to buy this.
Right.
And then I scope some numbers and you're like, all right, cool. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
You think one sale goes through, you're like, good. My numbers are covered.
Allegedly.
You're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Doesn't take long to add up. Apparently about $50 million.
Well, and the crazy part is one of the things that, including myself, I'm willing to say I was wrong on this if I was wrong, okay?
Probably.
Often. One of the things that Buffalo Trace has been blamed for is
price gouging.
Well, I don't think most people blame Buffalo Trace for that.
Yeah.
Most of that store owners, and I think that's come out of the woodwork in the last year.
Yeah, because they've been bullied into buying 19 cases of
Which
shit.
we knew this, but the thing that we always thought was that Buffalo Trace or Sazerac is requiring the store to buy 20 cases of Wheatley vodka to get one Old Rip 10 for allocation season. Sazerac came out and said RNDC was forcing store owners to buy. I'm just using Wheatley vodka as a placeholder here because we know that Wheatley vodka is being pushed to get these other things. But RNDC's forcing Wheatley vodka sales at the cost of getting an allocated release like a BTAC or a Pappy Van Winkle or whatever. The craziest part to me is from a PR perspective, this is the best thing that ever happened to Buffalo Trace. Because hear me out. Even if it's,
we didn't charge you that. The store owners and RNDC and everyone else did. We did nothing wrong. We want you to pay $100 for BTAC.
And honestly, here's the thing. I actually truly do believe they wouldn't set MSRP at 100 if they weren't like, sell it for 100, man.
Yeah.
Because MSRP is based on their wholesale.
It's what they're selling, there's still money to be made.
But it's not being made by Buffalo Trace.
Yeah.
This is the thing.
Yeah.
So it is actually hyper important for the public, for the consumer, to be aware of who is doing these things. Yeah. If Buffalo Trace has to spend $48 million on making a customer aware that they had no doing in why things are hyper allocated, why things cost so much in a store on a shelf. Dude, this is the best. I'm going to be honest.
Like, it's just them. Just coming out on top.
They should. We've been there. Now, here's what changed my mind a while back. What changed my mind a while back for you and I was we went to Buffalo Trace.
Yeah.
When you see their expansion, you physically see it. It wasn't, we didn't walk into Buffalo Trace. They said, we're expanding.
Yeah.
We saw 8 rick houses being built that are in construction.
We saw 3 cranes set up, and
we
they were
saw
like,
a new
"Hey, this is
still
gonna be a new."
being put in. We saw new vats being moved. When you see what they're spending money on, you're like, "Oh, you weren't." They are.
It's like $1 trillion.
Expanding, right?
It's insane.
Now that being said, $48 million to show the consumer. They had nothing to do with all the nonsense.
Yeah.
Priceless.
Like I said, it is literally.
What are the priceless commercials? MasterCard.
Yeah.
Is that MasterCard?
Priceless. There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard.
I think
Buffalo
so.
Trace pulled a real MasterCard here.
Yeah.
You know what?
I mean,
$48 million to show our consumers we're not dickheads? Priceless.
They couldn't spend $48 million on marketing.
And do the same?
Yeah.
No.
In any way, shape, or form.
No, it took a lawsuit. Good on them. I applaud Buffalo Trace here.
I hope their lawyers are very
And here's the
good.
thing. If we ever need RNDC, which someday we might, if we ever do, we'll just delete the video. Cheers, guys. Listen, distributors are part of the 3-tier system and a big part of it.
Necessity. A necessity.
Some would say 33.3% of it.
Yeah. I would say they were a necessity back in the day.
Direct to consumer is a beautiful thing.
Now, because if we live in the Amazon day,
Sure.
that it was like, you can do direct consumer. You have drop shipping with everything now, which makes it direct consumer. But nowadays, like, why can't distillers just bottle shit and sell it to people?
Prohibition laws. There's been
100 years.
There's an up and downside, right? The upside is how many jobs are in distribution? A cajillion. You know what I mean? So many people.
Don't be crooked though.
So I listen. I agree. You can say it for a lot of
You took a
businesses.
system that was put in place to help people.
You know who put the
and
system in place?
literally fucked people.
This is crazy. This is one of the very few things I know that are interesting.
Go ahead.
You know who put the system in place
Pappy Van
for the
Winkle.
3-tier system? The person who brought prohibition. And you can literally look that up. I'm not.
Who's
wrong.
that?
I don't know his name. Ask Caroline. She'll tell you. I promise you this is true.
Nothing about this in 2023 feels good.
The whole thing's crooked, buddy. Like the guy who was like, no alcohol. You guys are overturning the no alcohol thing. We should tax things more often than we need to. Like both of these systems are by the same person.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a huge step forward for
It's crazy.
Like Sazerac
Transparency.
Yeah.
Visibility. Yeah. From a consumer standpoint, it's beautiful.
It's just a black eye. More than anything, you're hitting a $1 billion+ industry with
True.
or company with a tiny, like, little speck of a lawsuit, and all it is mudslinging. Like,
but
that is not.
You do have to take into consideration that, like, if you or I see $100 million lawsuit, a lot of money. Now you have to go look it up to see that they're
Ford
worth.
Motor Companies get sued for $50 million. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, we're $1 billion industry.
Yeah.
Like, this is.
I
We're
think-
putting interns on this.
I think Sazerac is worth somewhere around $4 to $5 billion. In RNDC's around the low teen billion, right?
Yeah.
So it is. This is like a fine, man. I'll give you your 20 back, right? But from a public perspective, this is hyper important. It really is.
It's nothing more than to bring to light on what's happening. That is the entire thing.
I think it's a crazy, visible $50 million.
Man, what do you think happens going forward?
They go to this new distributor. The new distributor goes, did you see what just happened? And they go, yep. And they go,
we got to be everyone cool. Go, hey, tighten it up.
We got to be cool.
Tighten up.
Here's what this means. This means, hopefully, in theory, you may find plans.
Better distribution.
Hopefully, less. You got to buy 500 cases of Fireball. Sazerac owns Fireball. Yeah. You got to buy 7 million Fireballs for one Buffalo Trace pick this year. Like, in theory, hopefully that goes away, right?
You'd hope.
In theory, store owners are treated better. And then this is a really optimistic perspective. If store owners are treated better, then customers are treated better as well.
I would hope in the end all be all prices come down a little bit.
In theory.
You see more distribution because $50 million in just a retail space is a lot of whiskey.
Yeah.
Like that is a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's happened over 1 year. It's probably been
however long.
10.
Yeah.
But still, call it $5 million of allocated stuff. It's not Buffalo Trace that's falling off a store shelf somewhere.
Right, yeah.
It's not Fireball.
Yeah.
It's not Wheatley vodka.
Oh, no, no,
it's the big boy bottles that are gone missing every
Sure.
year, and someone's pocketing some cash. So it would be nice to see more allocated bottles on a shelf somewhere.
Now, here's the other thing.
Period.
Now, if Buffalo Trace, let's just call this a problem. There was clearly a problem with RNDC, okay? We'll call that the problem. If Buffalo Trace fixes the problem, as they're expanding warehousing, they're expanding stilling, they're expanding their entire operation, that means there's more whiskey, and this problem that in theory would have grown with product, that problem's gone. That means that there's more on the shelf, period.
Realistically,
like it could be actually great.
It doesn't take that many more bottles for that to be a win for them.
No,
like in the grand scheme,
it really doesn't.
How public this is. It takes so few bottles to actually make it to the public storefront in any way, shape, or form for them to be like, oh wow, like obviously RNDC was a problem,
dude. You know what's
they're
even,
gonna tank them.
You know what's even crazier? What's even crazier is all those bottles only have to be they're relatively normal bottles. If Buffalo Trace, Eagle Rare, Weller Special Reserve become hyper available, it's a whole new world.
Conspiracy theory. We're going to talk it out here. Conspiracy theory right here, right now. All they have to do is switch distribution, increase production.
They already did both.
I know, but more bottles make it to people. They put a black eye in a $13 billion company. That costs them billions, because as long as they get
that
more,
costs RNDC billions.
All they have to do is get more bottles to people, and the same thing I just said. It's like more visible.
I know, but
and then everyone goes, "It's RNDC problem."
I know, but the problem is that a consumer doesn't care about RNDC. The retailer does.
Yeah.
The RNDC,
but that might make them lose business in their sectors if it becomes like you popularize the alternative.
The only way that it creates a problem for RNDC, there's only one way. The only way that it creates a problem for RNDC is if RNDC is then dropped by other large accounts.
Could happen.
Not by retailers,
it could happen.
By distilleries. Now, what could, less conspiracy-esque, but along the same line, other distilleries look into where allocated bottles are going through RNDC.
That's what I'm saying. It's like all they have to do is just ramp up their production a little bit more, get more bottles in front of people, and then they're like, oh my God, all the fingers they can point at RNDC hurts them. So it goes from like that pebble in a pond to a tsunami somewhere else.
It's a butterfly effect.
Oh yeah.
Ashton Kutcher, the whole thing.
Ooh, this could get real spicy in the next couple of years.
It's interesting. Yeah.
Or it's nothing.
The 50 million is Sazerac saying, hey man, watch what we're about to do with $50 million.
So it either turns into a snowball that gets real big, or it's swept under the rug. No one gives an F. there could be or could not be more bottles. There could be the same type of delinquency that exists with RNDC. I don't know.
I'd be very surprised if there wasn't a more watchful eye on it now.
A couple years.
With this being public.
3 years. 3 years. 3 years is a long time. People forget about stuff in weeks nowadays. So 3 years is a long time. Yeah. Anyways, let us know what you guys think.
Yeah, it's interesting. That. We love you guys.
I have so many thoughts about
We're the Bourbon Junkies.
Drinks responsibly.
Cheers.
Oh. I don't. I have so many conspiracy theories.